Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Created Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
It is going, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh, look at that. I think we're also live on Instagram for the
Hello,
first time.
Instagram.
Yeah. I'm good, bro. How's everything going? It's funny because it's like we were at work today, and obviously people call out. They call out every Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. I know we weren't going to talk about the Super Bowl, but here we go already. And it's like they should just make it a national holiday already.
Yeah.
Especially for people that work overnight.
I was hearing something on the radio that there's one guy who wants to move the Super Bowl to Saturday because of the loss of productivity on the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Right.
So he says, do the Super Bowl on a Saturday, and that
Right.
way, then people can recover on Sunday, and we won't lose the projected $800 million in lost productivity for people hungover, calling out, showing up late, whatever, the day after the Super Bowl. However, Sunday is such a professional football day. College football is Saturdays, or Sundays are professional football. So to make that change would be a very hard sell.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No,
yeah.
They'll continue to lose money over time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we work early in the morning. So, if you're working at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and Super Bowl's not ending till God knows whatever time, almost 10 o'clock, whatever it is, or around that time. Yeah, you got guys that, are told Friday, we're not letting anybody off, blah, blah, blah. And then without doubt, on Monday morning, you got all these people calling out, which is crazy. But you know what? I didn't even watch it. I actually went to bed because it's Seahawks and
some team
New
from
England.
Boston.
Yeah, some team from the freaking East Coast.
Some up-and-comers.
If it was the Eagles, I would say if it was the Giants or the Jets, but that's just not going to happen for at least another decade if we're lucky. But even if it was the Commanders or the Niners, I probably would have watched it. But yeah, I don't give a fuck about the Seahawks or the freaking New England Patriots. But yeah, they got their ass kicked, so it's all good. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Indie Created Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. John and I are, this is our weekly review, our indie comic review, where we've picked up some books off the shelf, read them, and then we'll give you our 2 cents. We really focus on creator-owned, independent, small press comics, a lot of the stuff from Image. We'll even go into Dark Horse. Ignition Press has been on the bat for the last couple of weeks, and I think they're on this week as well. And with whatever news that we've got going on in this world, we have the only thing that I can think of right now that's pertinent is that we got, Free Comic Book Day is still happening this year. I have no idea how, but it actually is. Ever since the split with Diamond and the sell-off and all that stuff, Universal picked them up. They're based out of Canada, I want to say, right? Or the UK, somewhere. But they actually gave the rights over to Lunar to be able to do Free Comic Book Day or run it this year. But PRH, being the stubborn son of a bitches that they are, who distribute Marvel and all that stuff, they're going to go ahead and do their own on the same day. I forgot what it's called. It's not Free Comic Book Day. It's like Comics Giveaway Day or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. So more than likely, just to be able to go to your shop, you're going to have free comics that are there and stuff like that. They're just going to be branded differently from Diamond. I mean, not from Diamond, from Lunar or from PRH. So I'm just glad that it's still going on. So we'll see what happens there. Other news, after Project Shadow Breed 1 on Kickstarter launched and got funded and everything like that, we were really gung-ho. We've got issue 2 already done. We're going to launch the Kickstarter on March 1st. So if you actually go over to projectshadowbreed.com, it'll give you all the details. The pre-launch page is up there. Just sign up so you can get notified. Issue 1 will be available in this one as well. And I believe we're going to be putting issue 1 on our site probably sometime in March or April. So you'll have opportunities to catch up on there too. We're already up to like issue 4 or 5 that we're working on right now. So yeah, things are happening and we're moving quickly, which I absolutely love. Off of that, if you didn't get a chance to read issue 1, John can contest to me saying that, yeah, it was, dude, we worked our ass off on that one.
It shows. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it really is good stuff, from Alex's art to, you know, just his writing, and, you know, getting it all, the details in there was pretty cool. All right, cool. So that's pretty much all we have for the news. Like I said, just head over to Project Shadowbreed. You can definitely see what we got going on over there. And you can always go over to indiecreatorcomics.com, which is our main site, because we are also a small publisher. So we actually, you know, if you're a creator looking to want to get your stuff either online or, you know, published, you can, you know, hit up the submission page, and we can have a chat for that as well. There's just a lot of moving parts all over the place. So yeah, so we're gonna pop into the reviews. Woo! So listen, really cool week this week, a really surprising week. So there were, I think, one book I read that you didn't read, and a book that you read that I didn't read, and then books that we both read. So why don't we start with the book that you read that I didn't, because I was like, there's no way. I'd never really liked the cartoon. I'm probably gonna get shit for that, but it's all good. So let's start with yours.
It's all right, man. Yeah, he's back. Thundarr the Barbarian. That's 2 R's, man. That's 2 R. The second R is for retro, because Thundarr, if no one knows.
Do you know what's crazy?
What?
As a Spanish person, it drives me crazy because you can't roll the R's at the end. It's not Thundarr. It's
Thundarr.
Yes. Yeah, nice. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. So Thundarr the Barbarian was a cartoon, lasted, I think, about 2 seasons in like 1981 to 1983 or 80, you know. And this was a cartoon by Ruby Spears Animation. They were guys who I think worked for Hanna-Barbera, broke off, did their own thing. One of my favorites from them was the one season of the Superman animated series in 1988. Some good stuff. You can check that out. But yeah, so it's funny because there were these 2 cartoons in 1981. Thundarr from Ruby Spears and Filmation had a show called Black Star, and very similar in that they were this sort of Star Wars meets Conan the Barbarian aesthetic, right? And so,
saying hi to you, John.
Well, hello, hi. And so basically the you know, they always say Black Star and Thundarr walked so He-Man could run, because there's so many similar elements in both of these cartoons. Thundarr, for some reason, I think it's because of the Barbarian attachment, has really stuck around more in the zeitgeist than Black Star, because it was just Black Star. Not many people know Black Star, and so the idea for Thundarr as a kid always fascinated, but also terrified me, because the opening sequence was 1984, the far-flung future of 1984 or 1994, right? In 1981, this is 1994. A rogue planet passes between Earth and the moon, and it cracks the moon in half, and it sucks all the atmosphere and the ozone layer out of the Earth, and the cataclysms occur, and the opening credit sequence, you can find it on YouTube, as a kid, was so terrifying yet fascinating, because I love this sort of apocalyptic stuff even as a kid. I remember there was an Orson Welles Nostradamus documentary, and my favorite part was like Nostradamus predicting the apocalypse and men become man eaters and all that kind of stuff. So Thundarr was right in there. I was a big Planet of the Apes fan as a kid as well, so that dives right into it, and so that always stuck with me. And it was so the setting is 2,000 years after that. So we're in 3994, and there's these roving gangs of mutants and these evil wizards. It's this world where sorcery and science have combined, and everything is in ruins. Like there is a Manhattan, but it's called Manhattan because half the side is destroyed, so that's just what they call it, and just really weird, cool stuff. And like I said, I mean, aesthetically, you look at that cover right there, it is Conan the Barbarian meets Star Wars. Thundarr has this laser sword. There's Princess Ariel, who's also a bit of like a sorceress, and then you basically have Ookla the Mock, who's their Chewbacca, right? Grunts and growls and just the big muscle of the group on top of Thundarr's muscle, right? And love that show. Just thought it was really cool. And the neat thing about those shows of that period, you never got an origin, right? It just they're there. Right? Stuff's going on, and Thundar and Ookla and Ariel show up and save the day, and it's all just great early 80s cartoon. No toy line attached to it, right? That happened later with He-Man and everything. So I think that's partly why it didn't really last in the zeitgeist or catch on like later properties. So here we are. It's 2026. Dynamite Comics, which again has a lock on a lot of licenses, and especially like with 80s cartoon revivals. They've got Thundercats right now, Silverhawks, Space Ghost. They're doing a Thundercats meets Silverhawks, like all that stuff. You know, Masters of the Universe is over at Dark Horse. Image has the big two, Transformers, G.I. Joe. Anything else that you might remember as a cartoon, there are comics being put out by the Nacelle company through Oni, you know, your Power Lords and your Biker Mice from Mars and all that stuff. Yeah. Yep. So Dynamite has revived Thundar the Barbarian. They brought in some top-notch talent. Jason Aaron is writing. Kubar Ball is the artist. The colorist is Jorge Sutil, lettered by Taylor Esposito, and edited by Joe Rybrandt. And I did get the main cover, as we see there, with the Michael Cho. But there's a lot of great variant covers, including a Rob Liefeld variant cover, which is really solidly proportioned on that Rob Liefeld cover. He did a really good job with that. And of course, Dynamite had Joe Michael Linsner do his magic as well on his variant covers. And so one of the cool things about this cartoon in general is it was designed by two comic powerhouses. You had character and production designs by both Alex Toth and Jack Kirby. Alex Toth, not only did he design the classic Super Friends cartoon, he did a lot of comic work. Did one of my favorite Question stories by Batman producer Michael Uslan is illustrated by Alex Toth. And Alex Toth, you mentioned Space Ghost. Alex Toth designed Space Ghost, top to bottom. And then, of course, you have Jack Kirby doing his just dynamic backgrounds and villain designs that just in that Kirby style. And it's a really interesting footnote because there's very prominent in the credits. There is this one villain called Gemini who shows up a couple times in the series, even shows up in this comic. And Gemini has a pleasant face, and then this visor that comes down as his head spins, and then he's got an evil face. And it's like the dark side, from the New Gods that Kirby did with like the crazy eyebrows and the red eyes and such. And a neat part of Kirby's history was that, he had his run in the early 70s at DC, created the New Gods. It didn't really work out, and he really wasn't properly compensated for what he left with DC. So in the early 80s, one of the heads of DC, because they were working on this license with Kenner for Superpowers, to spin off Super Friends as action figures and things like that. They hired Jack Kirby to redesign a lot of his New Gods characters for the toy line, where then he would be very well compensated for the work he had done 15 years before. It's a really cool thing. Yeah. So a lot of them he didn't really have to redesign at all, like Darkseid and Mr. Miracle. But Orion, Darkseid's son, who in the New Gods comics has his true face of rage, which is like Darkseid's face, right? And the mother box calms him, so he has his normal face. So when they did that action figure, they basically did it where there was a dial on top of the head, and you could kind of spin the head around from pleasant face to mad face for Orion. So Kirby kind of double dipped here with his character design for Gemini. He then took that from the animation for Thundar, and it's like, what if I made this into an action figure, but for one of my creations, Orion? And so I thought that was a really cool little Kirby-ism there.
Well, then Manny Faces would be a ripoff from that as well.
And Manny Faces as well. So that's the thing, because Kenner co-opted the Manny Faces technology to do that Orion figure.
Right.
And while Manny Faces had many faces, or 3 or 4, this guy only had the 2, right? Orion and Gemini. Again, very clever Gemini wordplay. Yay. So right here, I don't know if you remember when this happened in 1994, but a rogue planet crashes or flies between Earth and the moon and destroys everything. And so we flash forward 2,000 years in the future, and basically one of these mutant gangs, these sort of rats on motorcycles, these humanoid rats on motorcycles, barge in on a slave auction. So all the mutants are basically trying to harvest humans for slaves, very much again like Planet of the Apes.
Right.
And so the rats are like, they outbid everybody by using threats, and they round up all the slaves, and they make the slaves go dive in the ocean, or in the Hudson River, I think, because it's in Manhattan, and they're diving to find this relic, which was be a MacGuffin to power this Deus Ex Machina, which gets introduced towards the end, that the evil wizards and sorcerers, Gemini included, are using as their big plot. And disguised among the slaves is Thundarr. And the neat thing about this is, if you've watched the show a little bit, this actually takes place after the run of the show. So, because, one of the rat guys is like, you look familiar, you seem familiar, this slave, because Thundar's all covered and everything. And so Thundarr, classic, just breaks free, tries his best to free the other slaves. This is all sort of part of his plot. As Ariel and Ukla come in, as he's fighting a sea monster, and the bad guys do unfortunately find the relic, and that is basically facilitating the plot. And the plot is basically the bad guys want to go back in time so that they can, I guess, capitalize on that moment that the cataclysm happened, and that they can make sure that they have a sustained rule for, I guess, the past 2,000 years. And so what's really neat about what Jason Aaron does here is it plays out just like an episode of the cartoon. You have the villain's plot revealed, and then you have this little tag at the end where Thundarr wakes up, and he's in a gladiator arena, and he is a slave. And he says, I was dreaming. I have these dreams of being on horseback and being free with a beautiful princess and a big, strong, mutant companion. And it's like, your dreams, go out there and fight. So what it really seems like is happening here is you're going to have sort of like that the villains did succeed. They did go back in time and change things. And Thundarr is not the hero he is that we know. He's just another slave fighting in the gladiator battles, but he remembers what the past should be. So this is this kind of really cool twist, I think, that Jason Aaron is putting onto the story, which, again, if this was just going to be a rehash of the show and each issue was going to be self-contained, and it was, the mutants are beating up on some slaves, and in comes our heroic trio to save the slaves and fight off the mutants, lather, rinse, repeat, right? Every issue being the same thing.
Right. There's
a level here that I think is really engaging, and I think it will win over, probably there are Thundarr fans out there. So anybody who's really hypercritical about how Thundarr might be handled, I think this will win them over because it has that familiar element, but it also has something new that both old fans and new people can discover. So
it almost gives you a clean slate, because if you're rewriting history, then you can almost pushing forward, do whatever you want.
But it almost feels like there's going to be this sort of back and forth, this like duality of timelines. So you'll have, the familiar present as it should be, and then you'll have these interstitials, these interludes with Thundarr like in the changed reality. And then was this the only changed reality? Are there going to be multiple trips? So this first issue is just really open to some great possibilities that breaks this formulaic cartoon out of the formula, out of the norm. And I think Jason Aaron's bringing something new to the table that I think is really going to be people, fans of this genre, really happy. So yeah, if you like big brawny guys in furry loincloths and vests with laser swords and beautiful raven-haired princess sorcerers and big mute guys growling and beating other people up, voiced by Frank Welker, of course, because that's a lot of what he does in cartoons from the last 40 years. But yeah, this comic is great. If you're not familiar with Thundarr, dive into this comic because I think you'll find something really fun here, and it might take you on a little nostalgia trip to the past as you seek out. You might want to seek out the original cartoon, and if you're fans of that original cartoon, yeah, again, right from that opening page and straight through, it really does give you the nostalgia vibes that you're craving, but again, adds a new layer and wrinkle to it that I think is going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. All right, guys, check it out. Thundar from Dynamite. Dynamite's been pushing out, man.
Yeah. I mean, they handle their licensed properties really well. I'm wondering if we're gonna at least get the obligatory photo cover of Ariel, some cosplayer dressed as Princess Ariel. But I really want to see.
They haven't done any for any of the books, have they?
No male-led books. It's always Vampirella and Red Sonja.
But nothing that they've licensed out, actually.
None of these licenses, which I think is probably hard because of the licensing.
Right.
But boy, I would love to see it. I would love to see an Ookla the Mock cosplay cover. Just some guy with that, like, bear head or whatever. Like, just fun stuff, man.
All right, guys, check it out. So, Dynamite's lineup, including Thundar with 2 R's.
2 R's.
Okay, my turn. Okay. I picked up this book. So I looked in the inside. For me, like, the first thing is always going to be the art, right? It's going to be catching and stuff like that. And this is not, it's not up my alley, even though I appreciate it. There's a very Jeff Lemire thing about it because it's watercolored. Yep. And Jeff Lemire likes to do his watercolors for his comics and stuff like that. But this was called Night City, and it's from Dark Horse Comics. All right, so this is actually written in scripts and colors by Matt Kindt. Art is by David Lapham or Lapham. I don't want to mispronounce Lapham. Yeah. There you go. And then letters by Josh Reed. Yes, this book was a pleasant surprise, to be honest. It's one of these things where, like, went over my head in the very beginning. I was reading it very frustrated and like, oh my God, is this going to be another freaking just Superman ripoff kind of thing? And we've talked about the superhero trope and, can they do anything different? Fucking Matt Kindt, man. I mean, I think the first thing I remember reading of his that I really, really liked was, they're just from Valiant Universe. They're just starting to redo them. The guy that has the freaking spacesuit.
Oh, Exo.
Yeah, Exo Man of War. But it wasn't the original run because he wasn't on the original run. It was like either series 2 or 3 down the road kind of thing. Just really enjoyed it. And I think he's doing, if I'm not mistaken, Save Now also. But I could be wrong.
I think, he's done a few for Bad Idea. I think ENIAC was one with the first one was his.
Which is great too. He's a solid writer.
Yep.
So it's one of the reasons why I picked up the book because I saw his name attached to it, even though I didn't gravitate to the art. But looking at the art and reading it, I appreciate it even more. It's so hard to do a whole like watercolored book and make it like pop out. But it is just great. So you basically open up in this sort of like superhero scene in Night City with, your Superman versus your Lex kind of thing. And Lex just has this, hard on for wanting to kill this Superman, invulnerable being and stuff like that. And he's sort of like voicing over and narrating, talking about how tired he's getting and stuff like that of, constantly repeating the same thing. And then you see him towards the end of this particular fight that they're in, where he starts to actually open up, he's knocked him down to the ground. He's opening up his big mech suit or whatever that he's using to try to kill the superhero. And the superhero takes his head and starts to crush it, like his eyeball is about to pop out and stuff like that. But then looking at the crowd and looking at the people, he's got internal dialogue on it saying that's not him, that he needs to represent what it is that they want. And basically he gets his power from people's belief in him for doing good, which I thought was kind of cool. It's kind of different. So he needs to be able to inspire the people and have them feel a certain way in order for him to maintain his power. And then you got sort of like your Lois Lane. Her name is Lainey in the book, but I was a little bit on the nose. And the person that she works for is Mr. Perry, which is also on the nose, but it's not a newspaper place. But they sort of have like this relationship as well. And he's expressing to her how he's like feeling like fatigued and tired of doing what he's doing because he's constantly going all the time. And then all of a sudden, you see him go into like it's not the what is Superman's place called? Jeez, why am I blanking out today? Yeah, the
Fortress of Solitude.
So his Fortress of Solitude is actually it's in Antarctica, but it's like a mile deep underneath, and there's like a room, there's like a vacuum that he needs to sleep in because he can constantly hear all the time and all the sounds around the world, just everything going on, and he can't shut it off. So in this vacuum that he's in, it starts to work for a little bit, but then he can hear his heartbeat, and then eventually he can start to hear the sounds through a mile of thick ice in the room that he's in. But then he finally gets some sleep, and it moves into a different state where he wakes up and it's been a dream. So he wakes up from this dream of him dreaming that he was a superhero. He goes out through his day, has his whole dialogue going through, still Laney and stuff like that, going through and everything like that. And what we get to find out is this twist of he is this actual superhero in real life. However, when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in human form. So all his powers and everything are gone, which is crazy because then the Lex or the antagonist of the story finds out that secret. And now he knows how to kill this unkillable superhero. Dude, it was really, it was a frustrating read because it went back and forth and I didn't know what was going on because we didn't get to peek behind the curtains normally like you do as a reader in a comic book. Like we're reading a comic book, but we know things about the characters that they don't know about themselves. That was different in this book. The character was discovering things about themselves as we were discovering them at the same time. So we were just as lost as the person that was in the book, which was, it was really trippy. And to be able to take this superhero genre, give it a freaking, flip it on its head. And now we, have this really cool story that I want to see how it's going to plan out. And with Dark Horse, I think their latest, books have been shorts. So I believe this is a 6-issue miniseries, probably. Matt Kinch just did a really good job. He did a really great job. He colored the book too, I believe, on this one. But the art on it, let me just show you really quickly if I can just pop myself up on this particular one. You can see the watercolor in it. And it has a very Jeff Lemire-ish kind of thing about it, which is pretty cool. So, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you like superhero genres and stuff like that, and you want to read something that's not, the main two kind of thing, this takes the superhero trope, flips it on its head in a really good way. I mean, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I was. I thought I was going to be like, oh, first issue done and whatever, move on. But I'm going to keep with this one. Check it out, guys. Night City from, Dark Horse Comics.
I like that.
Really cool storytelling.
I like that setup. I like that hook. That's really cool. Matt Kint's great. David Lapham, I'm a big fan of. Stray Bullets is his big creator-owned project. And I think, we reviewed the first issue of American Caper, which is being written by the guys that do Red Dead Redemption video game and Grand Theft Auto. David Lapham's doing the art on that. And I flipped through this because of that, and I did notice the difference in David Lapham. It is a very different style from his normal style,
but really cool.
It's really cool because I think also this, being a superhero book, it does have that kinetic energy to it in that, and so it's really, really good. Really, I'm going to check this set out based on what you said because
I'll leave it for you.
Yeah, well, I think we should have more.
That's fine. It's going back to the story anyway. All right, cool. So let's leave the Image one for last.
Yeah.
And then you can go ahead and start the next one.
Yeah, look at this. It's another book from New Ignition Press.
Yes.
It is.
Dude, they've been coming out with books, huh?
They're out of control. This isn't the only book. They had a big Valentine's themed one shot that came out as well. I think there's a couple more books coming out next week. No, this they have turned the key and they are hitting the gas to kind of play on their name there because they're doing a really good job. Still don't know what the little number does on the back, but each comic, we've talked about this, has its own little serial number on the back there. Each issue, or each copy. So it's not the same throughout. Like each one has its own individual stamp number. So
I guess we have to go to ignitionpress.com.
I had looked a while.
Pop in your number.
I looked a while ago on, I think, No Place, one of the first books from Ignition that I checked out. I
Right.
couldn't figure out what to do with the number at that time, so I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Jamie Rich, who big time editor, started this publication or this publishing house. Jamie Rich, come on the show.
Yes, and explain yourself.
Just to tell us what to do with these numbers. So this is Ripcord. It is written by Cullen Bunn, another favorite guy who always does great character work, really good horror, really can create that tension. Illustrated by Aniki, which I think that's the variant cover you have up there.
Mm-hmm.
Jorge Fornes did the main cover, which is the one I picked up. Colored by Patricia Martin and lettered by Ann World Design. Edited by Jamie Rich and assistant edited by Nora Ornstein. Book design and logo by Scott Newman. And again, with all things Ignition, like a lot of the publishers that we look at, it is owned by the creators. So Cullen Bunn and Anike get the creator credits as well. Very interesting setup for this. A lot of times I do read the copy on the back cover because Ignition's been doing that as well, giving you the synopsis on the back to kind of set you up to go in. It does give you some good context. Even without that, it's pretty clear, I think, as this goes, what this story is about and what Dylan, our main character, what her journey is. There is this drug called Ripcord, and it just devastates people. And unfortunately, our Dylan's sister became addicted to this drug, led to a falling out, and then her sister went missing somewhere in the Australian outback. So Dylan, who is an American and ex-military, travels to the deep Australian outback, basically where no one should be going unless you are apparently addicted to this drug called Ripcord, in search of her sister. And boy, does she encounter a lot of unsavory crook blokes along the way. The first being a guy who has like a gas station, little shop kind of thing in the middle of nowhere, who lets her use the bathroom because he says he's being kind. And then you quickly realize, no, he's got like a Norman Bates type peephole. But yes. A great bit with the key for the bathroom, which is labeled shitter on the keychain, which I thought was really a funny visual gag. So she really does a good job of sort of nipping that in the bud, let's say, as this guy is being rude towards her while she's just trying to use the shitter. And then she encounters a biker gang, again, very Mad Max type, just gross biker guys, who kind of give her this warning at the gas station, but let her walk off and go wherever she's going to camp for the night. And then they follow her and they see her at the campsite. And what happens next is just one of the more brutal fights that I think we've seen. I would say comparable to the big church fight in Ordained issue 1. Yes. Where again, this ex-military woman not only just lets them really, I don't know, lets them, but they do get the upper hand on her early on, which only just sort of fuels her rage and her anger, right, and the way she gets back at them. So it is just a dirty, grimy, knockdown, drag out fight. Kind of reminded me of some of the Harcourt bar fight stuff in Peacemaker season 2, where this woman is just sort of like, I think in this very similar place, like she's trying to find her sister, but she wants to feel something. And I think just engaging with these guys in the most violent way possible, knowing they're going to initiate said violence, I think brings her into her comfort zone. And so what a way to really kick off this series. And it's a really good first issue that really kind of gives you what you need for the main character as well as her journey that she's on. And it, the desolateness of the outback, I think is a great setting for this. It's not post-apocalyptic, but it did give me a little Why the Last Man vibes in that respect.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a mini or if it's an ongoing, but yeah, what a really good visceral start to this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a mini and stuff like that. But yeah, Cullen Bunn. I mean, it's funny because most of the stuff that we've read of his as of recent was more horror stuff. And this is sort of like not in that. It could end up going that direction if there's sort of like this horror element, but it really is more like you said, like it's like this Mad Max kind of, in search of sister / Roadhouse chick that is just beating the crap out of everybody. Listen, I thought this was a really good mix between the right amount of dialogue, because I started counting it, and if you have your I think this was 22 pages because you have some back matter at the end, then you have maybe less than 50 bubbles altogether, and the rest of it is just it's sequential art, and you can follow the story really, really well, even if you didn't have the bubbles in there. The facial expressions on here, the color palette that they chose and stuff like that, just really, 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 really. I love like the hues that they chose for the mood of this book and stuff like that. Sort of like what they use on the back of the cover and stuff like that. Almost where it's almost matted, so there's not a lot of, texture in the images. Really simple, but I mean, it's just really good effect because of the way that the figures are drawn. And that fight scene was absolutely brutal. I mean, just knocking her head back into the guy's face and knocking his teeth out,
and then gouging his eyes and brain,
his eyeballs, stuff like that. So, but yeah, this was a really solid issue. This is another one that I didn't expect a lot out of. And reason why I picked it up, Cullen Bunn, read him before, like him as a writer. It did not disappoint, and the team that he put together as far as like the art and stuff like that, just really solid. So I'm definitely going to continue with this one as well. And it's funny because it picks up in the middle of her walking in a road to a desolate store. I'm like, how the fuck did she get there?
How'd she even get that?
I want to get that story.
I think there'll be
that prelude.
Yeah, just like we saw, insights into her past in the military, as well as her relationship with her sister via these imagery flashbacks. No real captions or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're going to kind of see that journey, the beginning of this journey, and how she does get to that in a very similar manner. But again, I said before, Cullen Bunn does such great character work. It makes his horror and suspense stuff really pop. And he is so good at it in this, and the communication between him and Anike, the artist, is like, she doesn't say a lot as far as who she is, nor do the bad guys say a lot as to who they are, but you just know visually representation that these guys are bad, right? The way that Anike is portraying them, and the way that she's portrayed. And again, just the way the art really does tell the story and give you that character work with very little dialogue.
But what's funny is that we don't have a true antagonist yet. These are just people that were in her way of her, looking for her sister. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get there. But then also we had sort of like a preview of what's coming out next week, the Just Brutal about the family. So I got to check that out. So I'm looking forward to that read as well. So yeah, guys, check this out. Ripcord from Ignition Press, written by Cullen Bunn. Some really good stuff there. All right, this is going to move us into our last book, which was, God damn it, like the best surprise of this week, because I was not. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, fantasy shit it's not my thing. And when you bring like ogres and freaking dwarves into the mix and stuff like that, I'm just like, no, I might as well be freaking baby dogs and anthropomorphic shit. But this fucking book. The only thing I'm going to say, I'm going to let you go first, but I swear to God, I thought this book was written by Mel Brooks. It has his signature like all over this freaking book. That's why I loved it so much. It reminded me of fucking the Holy Grail and all that shit. Just Spaceballs, like not like the themes, but sort of like how they are unraveled and how the characters interact with one another, and all these inside jokes that the reader gets that is just natural to the characters themselves. Fucking great. But go ahead.
So yeah, this is as the cover copy says, half dwarf, half orc, all dork, with a little apostrophe there. And it is written and illustrated by Brett Bean, colored by Jean-Francois Bouillot, lettered logo and design by Nate Picos. And I don't seem to see an editor credit unless it's buried in the indicia, but I need new glasses, so I'm not even going to look. So yeah, this so Scott Bean, or sorry, Brett Bean does a lot of work with Scotty Young, specifically on I Hate Fairyland, which is a big, that's Scotty Young's big creator-owned title that he originally wrote and illustrated, and I think when he brought it back, Brett Bean picked up the illustrations chores there, or the pencil, as you will, and you can definitely tell from that cover as well as some of the inside art. Brett Bean is very, this is very much a Scotty Young style of art, which is great because it makes we have a lot of violent situations in here. We have a very ridiculous world that its light and dark are in constant battle to the point where there's really no in between. And in between is this dork because he is half light dwarf and half dark orc. So he is the one who is prophesied to bring about the end of the world. And he's a little reluctant about it. But when push comes to shove, he could definitely tap into his orc energy, right? His orc background here. And he has a magical shield that talks to him, and they have this banter back and forth. And what a lot of this reminded me of, because I mean, that's basically the plot. You have this guy who's on a quest reluctantly with his magic shield. He encounters, people who are just fighting each other, but when they see him and realize who he is, decide to gang up on him. And so he's got to kind of defend himself. And there's a really funny bit with a third character that's going to go on this journey with Shield and Dork, which is not his real name, by the way. It is something that he considers a slur,
right?
And then embraces it because that's just how this world seems to go. That again, a nice little surprise there, but it's basically somebody who Dork is trying to defend, who winds up harming him, and yet that character will still be along the journey with them. A really weird, interesting hook that I think just really needs to be read to really grasp what's going on there. But one of the books that this really reminded me of the most was Barbaric.
Yes.
It's a very similar tone. It's a very real world representation of a fantasy world. So that light dark allegory is very present, right? As far as what's happening in the real world, but the attitude of Shield is probably one of my favorite things because, like Axe in Barbaric, this Shield just really wants to dive into battle and not only protect him but do harm. And their interplay is great. There's one hilarious bit that very Mel Brooksian I thought too was where they're bickering, because the shield is magic, it talks, it's sentient.
Yes.
And Dork basically goes, "Why are you being so defensive?" And the shield goes, "I'm a shield. It's my thing. I have to defend."
Yes.
Really fun stuff.
Dude, and that it's like drizzled in the entire book. So there's another passage too where because he's coming out of hiding after 20 years. And then he falls upon like these, I don't know if they're goblins or something like that. But then this other group is coming by from the light, and the light is about to attack the dark. And the one passage that he says, because they're introducing themselves, or one of the guys calls out for the Frizzard, and he goes, "Frizzard? You're telling me your name is actually Frizzard? Like you're a frog and a wizard, and you put it together." And he just starts making fun of him. He's like, "Isn't that fucking lazy?" and stuff like that. Like stuff like that that was just kind of like drizzled in the book was just hilarious, because you're taking these like high stress situations where they're about to battle and kill one another, but then you have these light moments in there, and it's Mel Brookian or Mel Blanc's even kind of style. I saw a lot of Bugs Bunny stuff in here as well.
Yeah,
That just kind of just really funny. And it's normally I don't gravitate towards these stories because they feel almost too kiddish, especially the way that they're drawn, sort of like that Scotty Young. And I love his art. I like. I hate Fairyland. It's such a contradiction because this girl's just so adorable, but then all this killings going on, and this is sort of like right up that same alley. But just really clever storytelling. It went by really quick. Let me show you something really quick because you have to see. I mean, they took a lot into consideration when they were putting this book together, because even the interior page has a map, and you can see down the middle is what they call the scar, and that's what separates the world of the light and the dark. And there's constant battle at the line of scar for these guys to go at it. And I think what was really, really great about the story is that, you know, you got Dork sitting in here, who's the manifestation of, you know, in a light and a dark coming together and creating him, but he's been prophesied to bring the end of it all down. So now you have these two sides, the kingdoms, actually sending out hunting parties towards the end to eliminate the source of what they believe is going to bring down the kingdoms. So he's actually bringing them together in a common cause when they're all at war with one another. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens with the shield. We get to find out the shield is actually something different because of what they do to another being. We don't want to give too much away because it's just really great.
It was my favorite twist.
Dude, yeah, I want to talk about the chicken so badly, but I can't without giving this stuff away.
Folks,
just know
there's a chicken.
There's a chicken, and there's just really great puns around this freaking chicken. But Brett Bean, you know, Jean-Francois and Nate, solid creative team. Dork from Image Comics. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Laughs and stuff like that in there.
I also want to point out Brett has an ad for brettbean.com.
Yes.
Which again gives you sort of his sensibilities, because it's basically his head that has been severed, and you can see it's bouncing with the blood.
Yes.
And it says on the bottom, head on over, brettbean.com. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes, Mel Brooks would be proud.
Yes.
Really good stuff, man. So yeah, so there you have it. You got 4 books this week that we thought were really, really solid. You've got Thundar with 2 R's from Dynamite Comics. Then you had Ripcord from Ignition Press, really solid. You had Night City from Dark Horse, and finally Dork from Image Comics. Yeah, definitely check them out. All right, guys, that's going to bring us to the end of our show. So listen, if you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, invite 100 of your closest friends. We're here every Monday live going over reviews. If you're a creator, want to become onto the podcast, talk about, you know, yourself or a project you have coming up, just go to indiecreatorcomics.com, fill out the podcast form. John and I would love to have you on. I believe we have someone coming up this week, Malcolm from 1615 Comics. I hope I got that right. But yeah, look out later on this week. That should be probably by Wednesday, that interview. On all the social media, Indie Creator Comics, you'll find us there. Last but not least, please support your local comic shops, because without them, John and I would not be able to do what we love, which is bring these reviews every single week when we read the comics. John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where we have all these great comics that we talked about and more. We got new comics, we got old comics, we got comic supplies, we got toys, statues, Funko Pops, clothing, winter gear, t-shirts, what have you. We also got lots of stuff for all ages at The Joker's Child. If you can't make it to Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, find your local comic shop near you. I bet you they got a lot of great stuff as well. See you there.
There you go. There you have it, guys. All right. Thank you for joining us on the Indie Creator Comics podcast, where we are all about independent comics. See you next time.